Due to the damage caused to Earth's environment, a new ice age took over the planet, forcing humans to take refuge underground to avoid death. In one of the rare shelters that remained, alert sounds and screams of fear echoed as two terrified individuals fled down a corridor, with something threatening on their tail. They reached a door, but to their misfortune, it was locked. The pair was brutally murdered by their hunter. At the same time, in another shelter, Sam was outside fixing the satellite dishes when he saw a man being escorted out. The sick fellow begged for one more day to recover, but Mason, a cold and ruthless individual, showed no mercy. Mason claimed they had already spent too many resources and, despite the man pleading to be spared, Mason killed him, stating it was necessary for the group's survival. Sam tried to intervene, but it was no use. Later, Sam returned inside, where it was discovered that the few remaining survivors were terrified of catching a cold. The last time the flu struck, 20 people died in less than 7 days. After that, Briggs, their leader, established a harsh rule. Anyone who gets sick must go into quarantine. If they don't recover, they are given two options, a bullet or a cold walk in the snow. The inhabitants of this shelter worked tirelessly to help each other and maintain what little farming they could, but their numbers were dwindling. Food was becoming increasingly scarce. There is a legend about a warm and pleasant place, but Sam doesn't believe it exists. One day, Sam approached Briggs to discuss Mason's disregard for the rules. Briggs was furious when he heard about it, but he had more pressing matters to address. In the communication room, Cooper informed Briggs that they had received a distress signal from Colony 5 but couldn't make contact with anyone. Briggs quickly scheduled an emergency meeting in 30 minutes. Meanwhile, Sam visited Victor, who cared for the animals, but Victor had bad news. The most recent litter of rabbits was stillborn. Of the 12 remaining rabbits, only one female survived, and the others were rejecting her. Briggs confronted Mason about his actions, but Mason continued to defend his decisions, claiming that if sick people were allowed to leave, they might return to steal food. Later, Sam visited his girlfriend, Kai, who gave him protein balls for the rabbits. Kai spoke about her work, sharing her belief that climate-altering technology might be hidden somewhere under the ice, which was why she refused to give up her search. Soon after, the survivors gathered for the emergency meeting. Dexter asked his wife not to cough, but Sam noticed they were sick and told them to return to their rooms. Dexter insisted they were fine. Briggs then arrived and informed everyone about the distress signal from Colony 5. He declared he would lead a team to investigate. Mason protested, arguing that they shouldn't waste resources or lives, but Briggs dismissed his complaints. Briggs invited Dexter to join the mission. However, to protect Dexter, Sam volunteered to take his place, suggesting Dexter stay behind to manage the turbines. Gren also volunteered, despite his father Victor's objections. Briggs left Kai in charge of the shelter while he and the others departed. After the meeting, Dexter's wife sneezed, causing panic among the survivors, who quickly distanced themselves. Mason criticized Kai, claiming she wasn't capable of leading, but Briggs warned Mason that he would take action against him if necessary when he returned. While crossing a blizzard, a boy walked against the wind and came across his mother, lifeless in the snow. At that moment, Sam woke up. It was a nightmare about his mother's death. Kai comforted him, reminding him it wasn't his fault. The next day, the team set off on their mission, trekking through the snow and bitter cold. They passed through an empty city and spotted an old weather-altering machine, but it was no longer functional. Later, they reached a damaged bridge and attempted to cross it carefully. Briggs nearly fell when a part of the bridge gave way under his feet, but managed to save himself just in time. On the other side, they found a car with a dead man outside and a gun in his hand. Inside the car was the man's family, all dead. They realized the man had killed his family before taking his own life. After hours of walking, the group came across a fallen helicopter. They took shelter inside it for the night. Gren, who had never seen a helicopter or airplane, marveled at the thought of flying. Briggs called the shelter to check on things. Cooper informed him that Dexter and his wife were deteriorating. The next morning, they resumed their journey and finally reached Colony 5. To their horror, they found blood on the main door. Inside, the air smelled of burning. As they descended the stairs, they saw more blood and realized it was the same corridor from the beginning of the story. Colony 5, once home to 50 people, was eerily silent. No one was there to greet them, and the group was left in shock. Briggs hands a gun to Gren for safety, and they move forward, finding blood and destruction in every corridor they pass through. Just as they begin to resign themselves to everyone's death, they hear a sound coming from a closed room. Sam unlocks the door, and when they open it, they find a fallen man. They cautiously approach him, but the man, Leland, screams and begs for mercy. The trio assures him they are peaceful, and Leland finally accepts some food and water. He explains that he has been trapped there for several days and doesn't know if anyone else is alive. Leland shares that a few days ago, their colony repaired their antenna and received a message, which he now shows to the trio. On the screen, a man appears in an ice-free area, explaining that his group fixed a weather machine and managed to melt the ice, granting them access to fertile lands. However, the man also mentions that they need seeds to sustain their progress. Unfortunately, the communication cuts off, and they only capture part of the location. Leland continues, saying they tracked the signal and sent a group to find this warm spot, but they weren't successful. A threat found them first and chased them back to the colony. Sam asks Leland to point out the location on a map, and Briggs suggests taking him along. However, Leland, terrified, refuses to leave the room. He confesses that he wasn't the one who made the sound they heard earlier. That revelation unsettles the group, but they gather supplies from the room, but strange noises grow louder, and Leland panics, running back inside and locking the door. Without Leland, the trio continues forward, the sounds of beating and screams growing louder as they descend deeper into the colony. Soon, they spot the brightness of torches and approach cautiously, only to witness a horrifying scene. Among the corpses of the colonists, a man is cutting a body into pieces while others devour human flesh. The butcher notices their presence and moves to attack, but Sam reacts faster and shoots him. The gunshot awakens more cannibals from the pile of corpses. Their leader lets out a roar, and the group begins chasing Sam, Briggs, and Gren through the corridors. During the chaos, Gren gets separated from the group and is surrounded by cannibals. The creatures descend upon him before he can return to his companions. Briggs and Sam fight their way back to Gren, eliminating the attackers one by one, but it is too late. Gren has already lost his life. With no time to mourn, Briggs and Sam are forced to move forward. As they climb the stairs, Sam shoots another cannibal but runs out of bullets. To block the path, Briggs destroys the stairs, but a cannibal already on the upper level attacks him. After a grueling hand-to-hand fight, Briggs manages to shoot his attacker. More cannibals arrive shortly after, enraged by Briggs' actions. To buy time, Briggs detonates dynamite at the colony's entrance, sealing it and trapping the remaining cannibals inside. The two survivors walk through the snow and eventually return to the helicopter. With the temperature dropping rapidly, Briggs decides they should spend the night inside it. While resting, Sam and Briggs discuss the horrors they witnessed. Briggs explains that people are capable of unspeakable atrocities to survive. He recounts an experience from his army days when a rescue mission to save 20,000 people trapped in a stadium turned into chaos. At first, soldiers provided food and medical care, but when supplies ran out, people turned on each other. Armed groups began stealing from the unarmed, and when there was nothing left to steal, the leader started deciding who would live and who would die. Briggs reveals that Mason was part of his platoon during that time, and they left together, searching for a place where such horrors wouldn't happen again. The next morning, Briggs and Sam realize that the cannibals have tracked their footsteps and are closing in. Fearing the creatures might follow them to their colony, they devise a plan to stop them. They cross a damaged bridge as quickly as possible, making a risky jump to gain some distance. Briggs places lit dynamite near the gap to collapse the bridge, but the wind extinguishes the fuse. Sam tries to relight it, but Briggs stops him, deciding to take the risk himself. Briggs struggles with the lighter in the wind, all while fending off attacking cannibals. Some of the creatures fall into the gap as they try to reach him. Finally, Briggs relights the fuse and attracts the cannibals closer. In a selfless act, he detonates the dynamite while holding it, killing himself and collapsing the bridge. The explosion prevents the cannibals from crossing, but Sam notices that some, including their leader, are still alive on the other side. Realizing he can't fight them, Sam flees once again. Meanwhile, back at the colony, Mason drags Dexter and his sick wife outside, ignoring their pleas for mercy. Mason kills Dexter's wife with a gunshot, but before he can do the same to Dexter, Kai appears and threatens him with a gun, ordering him to stop. As they argue about who should command the colony, a cry for help from Sam interrupts their conversation. Dexter seizes the opportunity to escape, and Kai quickly goes to check on Sam, who has collapsed from the cold. Mason arrives shortly after and knocks Kai unconscious. A few hours later, Sam wakes up inside the outpost and informs Victor of the sad news about his son. Suddenly, Mason appears and handcuffs Sam to the bed, declaring that the colony's leadership has changed. He claims it's for survival and announces strict new rules. Rations will be reduced by 50%. Anyone showing symptoms of illness will be examined immediately, and those unwilling to work will not be fed. Sam tells Mason everything that happened and insists they must leave before the cannibals find them. He also mentions the warm place from the video, but Mason distrusts him and leaves the room, taking the others with him. Before leaving, a young boy secretly passes Sam the keys to his handcuffs. Outside, Mason and Victor keep watch for any signs of intruders, but everything seems quiet. Victor, who trusts Sam, says they should prepare for a possible invasion. They decide to check the security cameras, but are interrupted when another colonist informs them that Sam has escaped. Meanwhile, Sam searches for Kai and finds her locked in another room. He quickly frees her, and they use her computer to track the origin of the message. At first, the radar shows nothing, but after some effort, it finally indicates a warm region, confirming that the thaw is real. The two gather as many seeds as they can carry in their backpacks and rush out to warn the others. However, they are intercepted by Mason and his group, who reaffirm their authority. Suddenly, a loud bang echoes from outside, and everyone rushes to check the security cameras. To their horror, they see the cannibals breaking down the doors to invade the outpost. Sam finally convinces Mason, who quickly gives instructions. Anyone who can shoot should grab a gun, while the rest should take refuge in the vault. Cooper leads the colonists to the vault and locks the door while the armed group prepares to defend the corridor. Suddenly, the door is open, but no one is there. Strange noises echo through the shelter, and, without warning, a cannibal bursts out of the air ducts and attacks Cooper. He fights back but is thrown to the ground. The cannibals surprise the armed group by infiltrating the air ducts. A violent and bloody confrontation ensues, with many dying on both sides, but the cannibals seem endless. Sam and Kai manage to escape, but Victor decides to face the leader alone. He fights valiantly, but is ultimately overpowered and killed. Meanwhile, Mason, wounded, takes refuge in a room with others who couldn't make it to the vault. He locks the door, but Sam and Kai arrive, pursued by a cannibal. One of the refugees pushes Mason aside, allowing Sam and Kai to enter, but the cannibal follows them in. Kai quickly eliminates the cannibal, and they try to secure the door, but it won't hold for long as more cannibals arrive and begin breaking it down. Acting quickly, Sam opens an air duct and tells the group to escape through it, while Sam stays behind to give Mason a gun before following. Within seconds, the cannibals break through the door and attack Mason, who shoots at a gas tank, causing a massive explosion. The blast eliminates all the cannibals except the leader, who escapes into the air ducts. The leader eventually catches up to Sam, and the two engage in a fierce fight inside the duct, and they fall into the cattle room. The battle continues, with Sam desperately throwing anything he can grab at the cannibal. However, the leader overpowers him, beating him severely. As the cannibal begins to drag Sam, he seizes the opportunity to grab a loose knife and stabs the leader in the leg. Gaining the upper hand, Sam relentlessly attacks the cannibal, eventually disfiguring his face and decapitating him. Sam tries to escape, but finds the corridor engulfed in flames. Outside, Kai and the surviving colonists emerge from the duct and watch as their home burns. Moments later, Sam climbs out of the duct, exhausted and battered. He tells the group that they must find the warm place mentioned in the message. The group gathers what little they have left and sets off into the snow, seeking a new home. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.